the third raising of the discount window rate. How's the market responded to this?
I think so far it has more or less brought certainty into the market, because for the last couple of weeks there seemed to be a loss of more or less a loss of direction in terms of monetary policy, and more importantly the direction of short-term interest rates, and also the volatility of the shilling. So I think reading by today's numbers on the equities market, it's probably an indication that investors are feeling more confident now about the direction of the shilling in light of the tightening of monetary policy.
All right, as you're trying to ease pressure off the shilling, there is a worry though, Isaac, that all of this is definitely going to raise borrowing costs, and that we should start to see a few more jitters in terms of banks being able to raise financing, particularly on the forex markets. What's your view?
I think that has largely been the view since the beginning of the year, but I think looking at half-year results by banks, we haven't seen a significant increase in the lending rates. In fact, there hasn't been much increase in lending rates compared to same time last year. And if anything, we've seen a substantial drop in deposit rates, and that probably explains why across the board most of them have been making quite good profits. So I think the move that is intended here is to prompt banks to unwind their dollar positions so that they can fund their liquidity. Because if you think about it, it's not going to be profitable at all borrowing from the discount window at rates of close to 18%. So I think it's likely to prompt banks to unwind some of their liquid assets to fund liquidity requirements. Yeah, so it is a positive thing.
Does all of this, Isaac, have some bearing on the fixed income market? Because obviously what we've seen with revised rules, for instance, on borrowing from the CBK window, is that the rates for treasury bills has gone up, and with investors not sure where to place their money, in equities or move into government securities, these are some of the things that they're trying to unravel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a challenge right now, but I think looking forward, for investors who are likely to take a more risky approach, they might probably make some money, some better returns on the equity side. Because if you look at the prevailing environment about the direction of monetary policy currently, there's actually an indication that banks might be prompted to offload some of their liquid assets to fund their requirements, and that might probably prompt short-term rates to start falling. And that might probably not be a very good thing for people who've gone very heavy into equities, into fixed income. So I think the bet right now is probably on equities.
And direction of the shilling, because obviously all of these actions were designed to ease the pressure on the shilling, reduce the volatility. The shilling at the moment trading in the region of 92 shillings 99 cents, so effectively 93 shillings. I still say the shilling is severely under pressure from figures we saw no less than 8 weeks ago, for instance. Yeah. As the central bank goes into an MPC in the coming weeks, how are they going to contend with all these factors as they make broader interest rate decisions?
Well, I would say what actually happened this week by bringing in the new rules about tightening monetary policy, those I would say are more or less like it's more like shock therapy in terms of stabilizing the volatility that was in the shilling exchange rate. So we might probably not see a very gradual appreciation, as is probably the expectation, mainly because whatever is playing out or whatever had been causing the shilling to go up as well is still out there. I mean, and in this case, you're talking about high energy requirements, high energy prices on fuel and electricity domestically, and also an increasing import bill on food. So those factors are still more or less at play. And I think until weather conditions improve, we're likely to see perhaps is a stabilization of the shilling exchange rate, not necessarily a very quick and rapid appreciation to previous levels.
Let's turn our attention to the equity side and the results that have just come through from NIC. First half profits up 34%. What do you make of the fundamentals of the company first off?
Very, very strong. I think just like all the other banks that have released their results so far, it was more or less within expectations that although lending rates had not gone up significantly, there's a massive drop in their funding expense. I mean, average cost of funds had really come down by close to half. Yeah. And I think that, in addition to cost cutting or cost control, enabled them to make the profits that they did. I think their total income went up by 13% against an increase in expenses of only 2%, which was really remarkable given the environment. So I think by and large, those are good results. But I think for the banking industry across the board, the second half might probably be, the challenging period, because by and large in the first half of this year, most of the volatility that we've seen in the money markets had not been coming out. So the second half, I would say, is going to be the tricky part.
Just talk to us about the phenomenon of cooperative banking, because we're told that in as much as the banking landscape is growing and becoming more dynamic in Kenya, this is really the area that's going to see fantastic growth, that and micro lending. Why is it peculiar to Kenya, this kind of banking?
I think if you look at the way the economy is emerging, I mean, there's a very heavy presence of SMEs, small and medium scale enterprises that are coming up. And I think the bet is really that as these companies, continue to grow and get to the next levels of growth and maturity, then they'll definitely need, banks to, offer them financing facilities and credit and so on. So I think it's really on the back of that you're seeing a foray into the corporate banking arena. So, and I think as the economy continues to grow and these companies continue to mature, then we're likely to see, more presence of banks in that category.